the Hacienda Rivet here. Good to see you again. Today we're making something delicious. But then again, we're always making something delicious here. We're making Mama Vicky's borscht. This is my mom's recipe, and it is delicious. Borscht is a traditional Eastern European beet stew. What we got here is 3 bunches of beets. They're kind of small, so I got 3 bunches, 9 of them. If you can get little bigger ones, 6 is fine. You want a small cabbage, about 2 pounds, 1 onion. You want about 2 cups of diced tomatoes. If you got fresh, use fresh, otherwise use a can. You're going to need about 5 or 6 teeth of garlic, 2 carrots, ample amount of bay leaves, 1/4 cup of vinegar, some salt, pepper. You're going to need a little bit of oil to saute the onions and the beets later. And here we got 2 pounds of beef ribs. You can either make this with beef or pork ribs. My mom's made it with whatever she had, beef or pork, but she's never made it with chicken. As far as borscht is concerned, there are as many varieties as there are babchkas in a Ukrainian village, and a babchka is a grandmother, and every single babchka is going to swear to you that her recipe is the authentic one and everything else is a cheap imitation. You know, who knows? Mom never said that hers was the most authentic, but she did say it was the best because that's the way her mom, who's Ukrainian, had taught her how to make it. I make it every winter. It's delicious. It's perfect for the cold weather. Beef ribs in 2 gallons of water with a bunch of bay leaves, and I'm going to add 5 cloves of peeled garlic, and we're going to bring it to a boil, then turn it down to simmer until the meat falls off the bones. Okay, we got this baby simmering, so we're going to add half the coarsely diced onion in about 1-inch chunks, and then we're going to simmer it until the meat falls off the bones. Alright, meanwhile, while the meat is simmering, we've taken the 2 carrots, peeled them, and chopped them coarsely into pieces like this. This is the other half of the onion. The cabbage was cut in half. Half of it gets finely chopped up like this. The other half gets cut up into 1-inch cubes. While the meat is cooking, we've taken the beets and scrubbed them and trimmed them and put them in a pot of cold water with about 1 inch over top. We'll put them to boil and then turn them down to simmer for about 45 minutes. Okay, once we have all the beets that have been simmering for 45 minutes, and then we put them in the colander to cool for about half an hour, we're just going to take the flat edge of a knife and we're going to peel them. They peel very easy. You can see how the skin just comes off like that. And the skin's not saved. We throw that away. Once we got all the beets peeled, we are going to cut them up into julienne. Why? Well, this is the way her mom taught her how, and that's the way we've always done it. Of course, babchkas will tell you theirs are the best, and all the other varieties and versions are cheap imitations. So we do what Mama Vicky says. So here's the julienne. Okay, I have defatted the broth as much as I could with the skimmer, and I've left the bones of the meat in there. I've taken out the pieces of fat, but you want to leave the bones in from the ribs because there's still a lot of flavor in them, and we're going to cook this longer. Now we're going to add the beet water. You did save it, didn't you? Because that's an important part of flavor and nutrition for the borscht. So we're adding the beet water. We got 2 tablespoons of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper. And we are going to add the half cabbage that's chunked up coarsely and the carrots. And we're going to bring this to a boil and then turn it down to simmer. Meanwhile, we have taken the rest of the onions and about 3 tablespoons of oil, or you can use butter or pork fat, whatever you want. We started to caramelize the onions. And once they're about halfway done, we're going to add about 1/3 of the julienne beets, and we're going to caramelize those too as well. Let's take a look at these beets and onions are caramelizing. When they start to look really rich and brown like that, and you're certainly going to be smelling the sugars at this point. They're done. They're getting definitely caramelized on the tips. They're good to go. We've added the caramelized beets. Now we're going to add the can of diced tomatoes, 2 cups fresh if you got them. And then we're just going to simmer this for another hour and get the liquids down a little bit. Okay, this baby's been simmering for about 45 minutes, and we're going to add the last half of the cabbage that's finely chopped, and about a 1/4 cup of vinegar. You can use apple cider, you can use white vinegar, red wine vinegar, any kind you want. I like apple cider, so there you go. Then we're going to stir it up, and we're going to cut the heat off and pull it off the burner and set it down to cool. And at this point, that cabbage is going to cook, and it's going to cool down, and we're going to put it in the fridge for the rest of the night. Borscht is always better the next day, and the rule of the house everywhere who eats borscht is you got to let it rest for at least an hour before you serve it. We've always let it rest overnight, so I'm going to let it cool down. Then I'm going to put it in containers. We're going to put it in the fridge, and we'll finish cooking it tomorrow. Okay, here are the containers of the borscht straight out of the refrigerator, where they've cooled overnight. And you can see there is not one little bit of coagulated beef fat on top. The skimming did really well, and you can see this is a very lean and healthy soup. Those little broth skimmers are great gadgets. Alright, here we have the borscht put into a pot. You can see we got the rib bones, several rib bones still in there. That's a nice chunk of beef. We're just going to turn it over medium heat and bring it to a gentle simmer. You never want to boil it at this point. And once it gets to a simmer, you can cover it, and it can keep all day. The good thing about this stew, is it freezes very well. And any leftovers, since this is a large pot, you can put it in a Tupperware and stick in the freezer, and they're fine. An optional thing that Mom used to put in her soup, or she still does, she's still alive, is potato. She'd take about 2 or 3 potatoes, quarter them, and put them in there, but potatoes don't freeze well. So if I plan on freezing any of this borscht, I never put potatoes in there. Alright, here we are simmering. Let's plate it up and give it a try, shall we? Alright, here we have it. Ukrainian Borscht. Just like the babshka's made. Okay, Mom always served it with brown and served rolls, and you're traditionally supposed to serve it with white bread, but I prefer Russian Borodinsky bread better, buttered, which I make here at home, and if you look down below, I'll give you the link to the videos on how to make it. And it's also traditionally served with sour cream and fresh chopped parsley. So we got your meat in here, you got your carrot, and all that good deliciousness. Oh, God, that's hot. Can you see the steam in there? This is some good stuff. Let's see. I'm going to try it without burning myself. Mmm. Oh, that is hot. Oh, but that is so good. Oh, my. Thanks for joining me, people. Mama Vicky's Borscht. Deliciousness in a bowl. Perfect for winter. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by the Hacienda. Na svidanya.